Well, like all good things, Shamrock Sports must come to an end. So today, from the second floor of the Duncan Student Center, we're bringing you our last episode of the semester. I'm Ellen Geyer. Today I'm joined by Farrington and Caroline Pineda, and this is your final episode of Shamrock Sports.
I'm Ellen Geyer, and you're watching Shamrock Sports, and my childhood dreams coming true.
You know, Notre Dame, they won it in the year that doesn't count. This doesn't matter at all. Join a conference.
Williams helmet off. He's out. Jafar Armstrong in. Fake to him. Setting up the screen to Armstrong. Here goes the senior from Missouri. Room to run inside the 10. Inside the 5. To the right. Ray lined up in the backfield. Same motion, same setup. This time it's the boot. Bryce in trouble, and he is brought down by Foskey. Now they will go. Yep, bouncing outside. It is Kyron Williams. He will go the distance. Notre Dame touchdown, Kyron Williams.
Welcome back into the second floor of the Duncan Student Center. I'm Ellen Geyer. Today I'm joined by Farrington and Caroline Pineda. And guys, it's our final episode of the year for Shamrock Sports. How do we feel?
Sad.
Yeah,
You're graduating? I can't believe it.
Yeah, the graduation's more upsetting, but it's, you know, we'll make this a memorable show.
Yeah, well, Paul, are you going to try to get drafted this year after graduation, or?
I'll be trying to come back for a 5th year.
Of
but,
course.
you know, I won't be able to be on the show exclusively. I'm trying to, you know, put on about 120 pounds defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could really use a little help there on that side of the ball.
I think that could work. Maybe I'll shift into the secondary, work as like a shifty safety. I don't know. The possibilities are endless.
Potentially, yeah, it's hard to make the team.
Yeah, especially when you're a 5'4" female. But anyway, you guys, we do have a couple of sports that are still going on here on campus. So let's start with baseball. Our baseball team is the second-ranked team in the nation. They're first in the ACC, the only team to hold that title. What are you guys seeing from this baseball team so far? They've swept. They've got 2 ACC series left. They've got a great record. What are your guys' impressions?
Yeah, I mean, I think the highest ranking in 20 years kind of says it all. This is a team that, you know, had a season that got cut short last year, and that was disappointing with the bright future that looked like it was ahead with Link Jarrett, and they came back this year and made the most of that extra time. It's been so fun to watch them, and I think what's really fun is that they're so balanced and they're so great. The lineup can hurt you all the way through, and the pitching has really been great. So I think just watching such a balanced team has been so fun, and watching them climb in the rankings in the ACC and in the country has been a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll end in Omaha.
Yeah, and you can't give enough credit to Link Jarrett. I mean, this team hasn't lost a series all year long. The Louisville series, I believe they split earlier in the year, so you have to love what you're seeing from the program. Nico Cavadas is one of those players that, you know, we cannot stop talking about Nico and how good he is, the stats up and down the sheet. But yeah, it's been a fun team to watch, and you know, the sky's the limit for what they can do at the end of the season.
Yeah, and you mentioned Nico, and he's got a shot at breaking the Notre Dame program record for home runs in a single season. He's currently at 15. The record is 20. Notre Dame's probably going to have about 11 games left on their schedule, so we'll see what he can do in the remainder of the season as the Irish look to finish up regular season play. So on the other side of that little baseball arena stadium, we have Melissa Cook Stadium, where the softball team plays. Our softball team's looking pretty hot these days too. What have you guys seen from them? What players have stood out to you on that side?
Well, I believe they're on a 16-game winning streak at home and 11 games overall, so they're 5th in the ACC at the moment. Some great teams at the top there in the softball world in the ACC, but I mean, this team, if they're red hot like this, again, another team that Notre Dame has who can make a run in the NCAA tournament if they're able to get in. So it's baseball, softball. I mean, all the sports right now are really, really fun.
Yeah, and another balanced team, Peyton Tidd and Alexis Holloway on the pitcher's mound have been great. And then as far as those bats go, Abby Sweet still leading the ACC, batting 465, and then Emma Clark too, batting 403. So really just a very balanced team as well, and they've been a lot of fun to watch as they're climbing the rankings and peaking at the right time in the season.
Yeah, and you mentioned Abby Sweet. I mean, she's just absolutely dominant. She's only struck out 5 times and 107 at-bats. She's in the running for U.S. Softball's Player of the Year this year. So it's going to be great to see what these guys can do in the ACC tournament and down the stretch in the NCAA. So, yeah, like you said, Paul, all our teams are doing so well right now. Another one of those teams has got to be the men's lacrosse team. They're ranked 4th nationally right now. In the last week of the ACC season, they swept weekly honors with Pat Cavanaugh receiving Offensive Player of the Year and Arden Cohen receiving Defensive Player of the Year. So what have you guys seen from this team that's really stood out to you?
I think so much. I think that Duke game was so telling, the first one, and then taking Duke to overtime in the second one. That's really, Duke is a meter of quality in men's lacrosse and kind of always has been. They're the blue blood of college lacrosse, and so watching Notre Dame go up against them twice this year and beat them once and then have a really good chance to beat them again has been really promising. And I think watching them against Syracuse too, that dominant win, that's the kind of win that really solidifies your stance as a contender. And beating Syracuse 22-8 did that very, very well.
Yeah, that was a huge win coming off the Duke and North Carolina losses. And I think this team actually, out of all of the Notre Dame teams that we have left this year, I think that it's the men's lacrosse team that has the best chance to walk away with the championship. And that's because you have Virginia, you have North Carolina, Duke, and Maryland. Those are the top 5 teams right now in the lacrosse world, at least I would say. And I think that they're all playing at a pretty even level. Like, anyone can beat anyone on a given day. And we've seen this Notre Dame men's team, like, they were really giving it to Duke before collapsing late in the game. If they're able to carry that momentum, further and finish that game off, maybe they beat Carolina. We see what they did to Syracuse. Like, this is a really talented team up and down. And with Kavanaugh as the star player, I mean, they could really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, talk about complete. You've got the exact same thing on the women's side. Just like softball and baseball, men's and women's lacrosse are really complementing each other well this season. Same story there with Casey Choma and Bridget Dean sweeping those final weekly ACC honors with Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week. But they've had a bit of a tough time in the back half of the season. They fell to UNC pretty brutally in the semifinals of the ACC tournament. They're likely going to see UNC again if they want to have a shot at this national title. But they've had some really quality wins against great opponents. So what do you guys see being their biggest strength or even their biggest obstacle down the stretch as this women's team vies for a national title?
I mean, I think Dehan in the net, you mentioned that she's been just a stalwart in the goal the whole year, and I think she really has a chance to take this team to the next level, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday in their selection show. You mentioned that disappointing exit from the ACC tournament. I think this is a team with a really high ceiling and a team with a chip on their shoulder. They were so upset that their season was canceled last year and then came back and tried to kind of make up for that, and so I think it's really going to be important just to kind of find what was so important in the beginning half of the season and return to that, because it's a team that showed flashes of how could they not win the national championship, but also a team that's kind of showed some signs of weakness. And I think a lot of that starts with Bridget Dehan.
I completely agree with Dehan. And look at the difference between the first UNC game and the second one. First game, she has 14 saves in goal. I believe that was her career high. Second one, 18-4 loss. It was kind of alarming looking at, keeping up to date on that game. And you see you're down by 14 at the end. It's like really what's happening here? This isn't the way this story's supposed to go, especially last year with the whole build-up with 1-2. I just wonder, after losing 11-10 in that first one, Dehan is so good in goal. You have the game in your hands, it feels like, at home. And to lose that, following up with an 18-4 loss, I just don't know if this team can actually beat North Carolina. I think that they're talented enough to do it, but just the emotions of that first game and losing that and then coming and just getting destroyed, that could really take the morale down.
Yeah, and speaking too of that close call they had against UNC, that's the game they lost Samantha Lynchen, who's just one of their absolute superstars, a sixth year who's returned as a graduate student. She was really upset to have last season taken away, and unfortunately it seems like this season's been taken away from her as well, where she's been sidelined with an injury since that UNC game. So hopefully she can recover and maybe make a run in the ACC tournament. But you have to think that dampens morale as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I guess we'll see. And we did get to see a little bit of, I think, our collective favorite team on campus, which was the football team, the blue and gold game. They looked great. And those guys were working with the pieces, trying to put together the pieces of what was gone from the NFL draft. We saw a great showing from the Irish at the draft last week. And for more on that, we're going to send it down to Kieran Cantwell, who's got the full rundown on what the Irish did.
Notre Dame had its name called upon often throughout the 2021 NFL Draft, as 8 Irish players were selected. Let's take a look and see when and by whom our guys were selected. Outland Trophy finalist Liam Eichenberg was the first Notre Dame player off the board, as the Miami Dolphins selected the offensive lineman in the second round with the 42nd pick. Eichenberg started every game of his final 3 seasons at Notre Dame at left tackle, earning second-team AP All-American honors in his senior season. Just a few picks later, the San Francisco 49ers took Irish guard Aaron Banks with the 48th overall selection. Another big body on the offensive line, Banks started every game he played after taking over the left guard position midway through 2018. He was awarded first-team AP All-American honors this past season and will now head out to Northern California. Continuing the barrage of Notre Dame players picked in the second round, the Browns selected linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, or JOK, with the 52nd pick. JOK was arguably the best Irish player last season, delivering a team-high 11 tackles for loss and 3 forced fumbles en route to winning the Butkus Award, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and first-team AP All-American honors. Notre Dame's first pass catcher selected was tight end Tommy Tremble, taken by the Carolina Panthers in the 3rd round with the 83rd pick. Tremble was highly regarded for his blocking abilities throughout the pre-draft process, but he has the athleticism to be a sneaky receiving tight end at the next level. Another Irish offensive lineman heard his name called near the end of round 3, as tackle Robert Hainsey was taken by the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 95 overall. After an ankle injury cut his junior season short, Hainsey started every game last season, earning second-team All-ACC honors. The most recognizable name from Notre Dame's roster, quarterback Ian Book, was selected in the 4th round by the New Orleans Saints. Book became the starter midway through the 2018 season, and he ran away with the job, eventually becoming Notre Dame's all-time winningest quarterback with a record of 30-5. Book was given 3rd-team All-ACC honors for his performance last season as he led the Irish back to the college football playoff. 2 Notre Dame edge rushers heard their names called in the 5th round, as the Baltimore Ravens selected Dalen Hayes and Atedekumbo Ogundeji was picked by the Atlanta Falcons. Hayes' junior season was shortened by injury, but he returned strong in 2020 as one of the captains of the Irish defense, starting every game and earning an All-ACC honorable mention. Another defensive captain, Ogundeji, was promoted to a starting position this past season, taking full advantage, also earning an All-ACC honorable mention. The only Notre Dame wide receiver to be drafted was graduate transfer Ben Skoranek, taken in the 7th round by the Los Angeles Rams. Skoranek caught 5 touchdowns for the Irish last season after transferring from Northwestern, and he will give the Rams another weapon to work with. We wish our fellow Golden Domers the best as they embark on their NFL journeys. For NDTV, I'm Kieran Cantwell. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Kieran. And you guys, you gotta love Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah to the Browns. I know you guys are just as excited about that as I am.
I want him to go. I would love the Vikings to get him personally.
Yeah, I'd love the Cowboys to get him also, so I wouldn't say we're quite as excited as you are. But
when he's falling in the 2nd round, oh my gosh, I mean, where do you get him, 50 or 52?
52.
Like,
Yeah,
that's a great
absurd.
pick.
An
That's a great
absolute steal. I don't know, guys. I think they're going to be kind of scary next year.
We'll see. They're the Browns.
That's true.
Let's not get too ahead of
We
ourselves.
can't say too much. I'm just getting ready to have my feelings here again, as always. So for this part of the show, we're going to transition a little bit. And since this is our final show, we're going to do a little bit of a recap of the entire year. So we're going to go through our men's and women's players of the year, our plays over the last 4 years, since Paul and I are unfortunately going to be graduating, and just kind of have some fun with the last 8 months of sport that we've gotten to watch. So starting off with you, Paul, who was your women's player of the year across all sports and all competitions?
Yep. So, I mean, as everyone knows here at NDTV, I love the volleyball team.
Huge volleyball guy.
The best trio on campus. Sydney Bent, Zoe Nunez, and Charlie Nigo. The 3 of them, I mean, you know, they could compete with anyone in the history of Notre Dame sports. I'll say it right now.
Even
The
Rudy?
success. Oh, Rudy can't hold, yeah. So, between the 3 of them, obviously a hard choice. I have to go with Charlie Nigo. If you go through the stats, I mean, I was just awed looking at the 224 kills, 152 digs. I mean, she's all over the court all the time. She's the leader of this Irish team. And again, she makes up probably the most important piece of the greatest trio of athletes in the history of Notre Dame sports. The history of Notre Dame sports. I mean, Charlie Nigo, congratulations. You are the consensus, the objective, the #1 by far and away women's player of the year here at Notre Dame.
I think this is Paul's way of asking if Charlie Nigo has plans tonight.
Wow.
Because if she doesn't, you've got a fan right here in the studio.
Yeah.
What about you, Caroline?
Big fan. Well, I was going to go women's basketball. I think Maddie Westbeld just came in and made an immediate impact. This was someone that the program really needed in this first year under Neil Ivey, and she came in and was just an amazing player right off the bat. And I think the future of this program is really bright, centered around her. Obviously, her sister played, so there's that family connection there. But really just to come in and have the freshman year like she did, I think just watching her and the rest of her career here is going to be so fun, both watching her individually and seeing where she can help take this team.
Yeah. You make a good point, but you guys, I'm a lacrosse girl. I gotta choose a lacrosse girl. I mean, Samantha Lynch, you gotta just respect the hustle. The girl comes back for her 6th year. She's still fighting. She's such a leader on this team, such a veteran. She's so talented. It really pains me to see her hurt, but I'm hoping she can rally for the back half of the season. When she has helped to really bring this Notre Dame team into a top 5 program, when in the past it's just been this dominant storyline of Maryland, UNC, and Notre Dame really now is a solid competitor, and I think a large part of that is due to Samantha Lynch's role. So for me, she's got to be the Women's Player of the Year.
I really thought it was going to be Nigo, Bent, and then Nunez. I thought that's what we had agreed upon.
Right, because it's objective. I totally
We
forgot.
must have mixed up our notes at the beginning of the show or something. Paul, why don't you take it away with your Men's Player of the Year?
All right. So I would like to give a little shout out for the 2 guys in consideration for me were Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Pat Cavanaugh. And I mean, Wusu winning the Buckets Award. I'm making the pick on the spot right here. Wusu winning the Buckets Award was so good. But I'm gonna go with Pat Cavanaugh
we should
right
have
now.
put hats out
I
for
know,
you on the table.
yeah, a little selection. I mean, this is a guy. He should be a finalist for the Tawarton Award. He's setting records, it seems every game that he's setting records. He just broke his brother's record for most assists in a season in Notre Dame history. He has the most points in a single game. I mean, Pat Cavanaugh has been just exceptional this year, and really a meteoric rise to stardom for him. You got to give it to him. Wusu, a very close second, but Pat Cavanaugh, congratulations. You are the Men's Player of the Year. I won't say objective, though. I won't say objective.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I also won't say objective, but I do think that this player would make a good case for that. Nico Cavadas, we talked about him earlier with the baseball team, a huge part of this team's success. And really, we talk about the balance of it, but a team that puts up 19 runs in a game really, I mean, look at that batting lineup. And Cavadas has just been such an impressive player this year and in his previous years. And a big part of Notre Dame now being ranked 2nd in the country and making this amazing comeback to where they used to be in 2001 when I was not old enough to watch Notre Dame baseball. So for me, this is fun. It's the first time Notre Dame baseball has been this good to where I can remember it, and Nico Cavadas has been a huge part of that. So he gets my Men's Player of the Year award.
Yeah. I mean, again, you guys both make good points, but you're wrong. And I feel like for me, this is a total full circle moment because in 2018, I also write for The Observer, and I wrote an article just explaining gracefully that Ian Book had not improved since his preceding season, and the people of Facebook did not like that, and I got a lot of hate mail for it. And so I am now going on the record to say Ian Book is my 2020 Player of the Year.
Wow.
This guy really, I mean, he did not have what it took to win elite games in his first 2 seasons. And I think in this season, we saw a complete transformation of that. I mean, he was clutch, he was poised in the pocket, he made throws I don't think any of us thought he was capable of making, and I think the work that he put in the offseason between 2019 and 2020 was very evident in the way that he played this year. And you have to hand it to the guy for staying calm under pressure. It's just great to see him now moving on to the NFL. And so I got to say, Ian Book, finally seeing him go is pretty nostalgic, but he's got to be my 2020 Player of the Year.
Well, Ian Book thought the call from Sean Payton was the coolest phone call of his life, but wait until he hears
this.
Wow.
I know.
To be your Men's Player of the Year.
I miss Brendan Wimbush. Wimbush.
Man,
This is a can of worms that we probably should not open.
I know. I don't know if we can go into the quarterback controversy, but
we'll have a new one on our hands soon.
Save that for a rainy day, I guess.
Foreshadowing there for next year.
But speaking of some of the guys that have made some of the best plays that we've seen in our time as Notre Dame students, over the past 4 years, we have had no shortage of amazing, electrifying, shocking sports moments. I mean, pick any sport, and you can name at least 3 plays that have just absolutely blown everyone out of the water. So starting with you, Caroline, and starting with your top play that you've seen or experienced since being a student here, what have been the most electrifying 3 moments for you?
Well, first I want to say that I was not here, because since I am a junior and not a senior, I was not here for that year that you guys are both going to refer to with a pretty crazy shot by a certain women's basketball player. But, so mine start after that. So my third one is that 2018 Michigan game. That was my first game of my freshman year that I was in the stands for as a student. And it was really neat. That's my third pick, though. This is the Kyron Williams 65-yard touchdown run in that Clemson game this year. And that, for me, was like that moment of hope that we could beat Clemson. I was at the Cotton Bowl loss, and that one stung. And so this was kind of the moment that I was like, maybe Notre Dame can really pull this off. And of course, we all know that they did in a very, very roller coaster of events kind of game. And that for me was the first moment of hope for that. And my second one is a women's basketball one. It's not the women's basketball one, but it's one that was my freshman year when Marina Mabry tied up this game against UConn to go to the national championship against Baylor, which they then lost. But this was really neat, seeing them come back the year after they won it all and beat UConn to make it back to the championship game. And then the third one is that Michigan game of my freshman year, the first one that I was here for, the first time in the stands as a student, which was so neat to see. And this was a game that was so much fun. It was everything I had ever dreamed of all coming together, being in the Notre Dame student section. So this one just kind of holds a special place in my heart. And you can see the forced fumble and the fumble recovery there that sealed that one for Notre Dame. And that's a neat memory for me. So those are my top three.
That is a great, like, the Michigan game is so much fun. When you're in class and it's just going on forever, you just pull up those highlights. I mean, it is so worth it. I'm telling you, do it if you haven't done it.
This is second semester senior talking.
Yeah. Oh, the Clemson game, too. You could just get lost in hours and hours.
Yes.
You look at the clock, it's 8 p.m.
Yeah, you know how it says, like, on Google, it's like, you visited this lake this many times.
Yeah.
That replay of the Clemson game, mine probably says, like, 12 times in the past 2 weeks.
And yet every single time it still brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah, and
It's just crazy
Tarico's
how it
and
works.
in a pandemic, there's pandemonium line. It's a great broadcasting line.
Is it me now?
Yeah,
Am I up?
this is
All right.
all you, Paul.
All right, so we start with the number one play here. The number one play in my time here, it's, I got to give love to my boy Avery Davis, a Carroll guy through and through. He was here. And what you're watching right now is Michelangelo putting the final touches on the Sistine Chapel here. I mean, this is Da Vinci and the Mona Lisa. Avery Davis right here, I'm telling you guys, when we were freshmen, me and my friends used to joke around and say, Avery came in as a quarterback. And we'd say, imagine if there was a moment when he won the big game at the end as a senior. So as this Clemson game's going on, we're like, hold on a second, it's all coming true here. When he made that catch, then to have the touchdown, I mean, in the stands, we were just we were all over each other, just jumping up and celebrating. It was fantastic. But to Avery Davis, a guy who I have praised on this show for so long, what a great job coming from running back, quarterback, cornerback, everything. It's a great moment for him and now a leader of the receiving corps. So that's my number one. Number two, as you said, Caroline, I have to show the Enrique Ogunbowale highlight. I mean, I remember sitting in my living room back home watching this and just being stunned after the UConn performance and that shot. This here, and people forget about that fourth quarter. The final minute was unbelievable. Notre Dame could have lost 3 times. They could have won 3 times. And then for that shot to go in, I mean, jubilation, just a great moment for a championship, especially after the disappointment of the football season. It was nice to get back on top. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the Miami game. And number 3 for me, it's going to be the Najee Harris hurdle over. No, I'm kidding. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Don't worry. For number 3 for me, that would have been number 1, honestly. But number 3, we're going to go back to 2018 again. And let's take a look at the Frozen Four here, Notre Dame and Michigan. And anytime Michigan suffers, it is fun, especially when it's at our hands here. You're going to see Captain Jake Evans score right at the end here. 3 seconds left in the game to put us into the national championship against Minnesota Duluth. This was during the string of championships. The hockey team did not win the championship, and that was very disappointing. But what a great moment that was. I mean, that 2018 season, Caroline, I'm sorry you weren't here for that, but a great year of sports. And yeah, I guess, wow, there was a really big gap between my highlights, freshman year to senior year.
It's just full circle.
Full circle. I mean,
I'm going to cry.
It all comes
You guys
around.
are going to make me cry.
Exactly. Well, I gotta say, Paul, I think you're wrong in the fact that you put that Enrique shot at number 2, because that's gotta be number 1 for me. And I think part of that is that game took place in Columbus, Ohio, and I was actually there. I saw that game live and in studio. It was honestly one of the most thrilling moments of sports. I think the most thrilling moment in sport I've ever witnessed in person. It was just absolutely electric. The crowd was going crazy. Confetti was flying everywhere. It was insane. And you just have to think about seeing talent like that in person is just something that you only get to experience once in a lifetime. So that was just absolutely thrilling. My second has to go to the Owusu-Koramoah fumble recovery at that Clemson game. I mean, guys, can we talk about this Clemson game enough? I don't think any of us are ever going to let this go. Nope. Look at this absolutely beautiful play. And this makes you even more excited to see this guy in a Browns uniform. I mean, look at
Makes
this.
you
The way
more
he
excited.
spies, the way he rushes, he just recovers this fumble, falls into the end zone. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. It extends the Notre Dame lead from 3 to 10. It really keeps the Irish in the game.
I see 3 to 4 Super Bowls for the Browns,
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't
No
call it
ceiling.
a
How do you
comeback.
stop
No
him?
ceiling.
But
No, silly.
yeah, I think him with Myles Garrett, I'm just saying it's going to be a scary combination. But for my third play, I'm going to have to give it to Ian Book for that Virginia Tech touchdown. He scored as there were about 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter of this game. The Irish are trailing throughout the entire fourth quarter. He's able to run this little wheel into the end zone, kind of sneaks around the edge. And for me, this was the moment that I knew this guy could be elite. Before this, we'd only seen flashes of brilliance, but he hadn't really been clutch before. And this play right here really solidified for me that he was the right pick over Wimbush, and that he could really get things done for the Irish, especially when it came down to the wire. So for me, that's got to be. And also being in Notre Dame Stadium for that one, too. It's just absolutely electric atmosphere. You just can't say enough about how excited the students were to see that win.
So you were in attendance for all 3 of those,
I
right?
was, yes.
Yeah, I was not at two of my most memorable moments.
Yeah, I was not at one of mine.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say that all of our 3 best Notre Dame moments in the future, we will all be in attendance for.
Yes, the national championship.
Because you guys will obviously be back for every game next year.
I mean, exactly. I don't have plans.
Don't tell
or
me
anything.
otherwise or I will cry.
So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
fine.
Ella's not going
Everything's
to law
fine.
school or anything.
No, I wouldn't worry about it. So to wrap up our show today, we're going to do something a little bit different, and we are going to have an all Notre Dame first team snake draft. So the way that this is going to work is you guys rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. One of you is going to go first.
All right,
Are we
so
going on shoot or on
We'll go
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, right?
rock, paper, scissors, shoot? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah.
All right, so Caroline goes first.
Never
Paul
do
goes
scissors
second.
first. Never do scissors first. I mean, that's
And
really
That's
the
so
moral
much
here.
pressure.
I, as the humble host, I just fall on my sword and go third.
So this is kind of like
So-
drafting a Mount Rushmore sort of in a way.
Exactly,
right? Okay.
exactly. It's so, whatever feels right. We'll do a couple rounds, and Caroline, with our first pick of the 2021 Notre Dame Television Snake Draft, Caroline Pineda chooses.
Well, Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa fell in the actual draft, but not in this one. I'll take him first overall.
Paul?
Francesca Russo, fencer, Olympics.
Okay, I like the way this is moving. Kyron Williams, running back, football.
Are you up again? Snake? Are we snaking?
Oh,
it?
yeah. Next, I'll take, I'm going to take Juwan Durham, because I like that
Oh, my
height.
gosh.
And I don't think we've clarified what
Wait,
sport
we're
we're
doing
playing.
a Mount Rushmore here. We're not putting together a team.
Well, we can do whatever feels right.
Oh,
Paul.
all right.
I mean,
all right,
the
all
world
right.
is our oyster
There are
at
no
this
rules.
point.
That is true. Yeah.
There are no
So,
rules.
and I haven't clarified what sport we're playing, so I think the height could be good.
That's true. I'll take, with my second pick, Hans Yoon, fencer, Olympics.
Look at him.
I mean, it's fair.
Spin
It's a fair
sweater.
approach, I guess. Paul's fencing. I mean, if we're playing any other sport, Paul's at a little bit of a disadvantage. I'll take Abby Sweet softball.
All right,
Oh,
you're up
and
again.
then me again.
And this will be our last pick. This is
This is
our
the last pick?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Wow. To round it out, I will take Carol Linder, fencing. Sorry, Paul.
Man.
Well,
I had to
shoot,
do one.
that was
I
my
had to take
my
one.
pick. Let's see here. So I have 2 Olympians.
You're not even going to take your player of the year, Paul?
Well, Kyle Hamilton's there. Pat Kavanaugh's there. Oh my God, Charlie Nigo.
I knew you were going to say
kidding me?
that.
I was
I
so
knew
Are you
you were going
kidding
to
me?
say
waiting
that.
for that.
So I have Charlie
How did that
Nigo.
take you so
I have
long?
Charlie Nigo and 2 Olympians on my team.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, come on.
Are you sure
Forget
that's not
about
the best
That's
three
the
in
second
Notre Dame?
greatest
What were you
trio in
saying?
the history of Notre Dame
All right.
sports.
With the what? 3, 6, with the 9th and final pick. Did I do that math right?
Yeah, you're good.
9th and final pick of the 2021 NUTV draft, I will select Sam Lynch. I mean, guys, I can't just sing her praises and then leave her by the wayside.
No one takes Pat Kavanaugh.
So I guess it depends what sport we're playing, but I like my chances.
I like my team.
I like my chances.
I like my team.
So you guys, with that, I think we're nearing the end of our final show. I mean, it's been a great run here at NDTV. We've had so many great moments, a lot of great sports to cover, and none of it would have been possible without the help of our amazing crew. We've got all kinds of help these days, and none of this would be possible without them. So from myself, Ellen Geyer, Paul Farrington, and Caroline Pineda, this has been Shamrock Sports. Thank you so much for watching.